This is Candor Talk. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get right into the show. But before we get into the show, don't forget to check out our website, sylviaexpress.com. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Candor Talk. And today, there's a lot going on. So basically, there's two major situations that I want to talk about today because Trump's presidency is effectively over. The Republicans are basically rebelling against Donald Trump right now. Literally, they are rebelling against Donald Trump. Trump is no longer powerful over the Republicans. And here is my proof. Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan gave the keynote speech at the Al Smith dinner. And if you've ever heard of the Al Smith dinner, it's basically like this elitist Catholic charity fundraising event where like the wealthy and the powerful people, they come and basically watch speakers self-deprecate basically and make fun of other people at the expense of those other individuals, but to entertain the wealthy and the powerful. And then they raise some money for Catholic charities. In the process, that's basically what it is. Last year, Donald Trump lambasted Hillary Clinton, basically called her corrupt. He basically was very uncouth there. He actually even got booed multiple times. But this year, Paul Ryan decides that he's going to give the keynote speech. And this is basically a liberal audience. But let me play for you the jokes that Paul Ryan made about Donald Trump. He literally dismantled Donald Trump. Here it is.
Enough with the applause, all right? You sound like the cabinet when Donald Trump walks in the room. I don't think I've seen this many New York liberals, this many Wall Street CEOs in one room since my last visit to the White House. I want to thank Patricia Heaton. Patricia and I do go back a long ways because you know what? Patricia Heaton, she is a Hollywood Republican. A Hollywood Republican. That is an oxymoron. Which clearly was the word that Rex Tillerson was searching for. I know last year that Donald Trump offended some people. I know his comments, according to critics, went too far. Some said it was unbecoming of a public figure, and they said that his comments were offensive. Well, thank God he's learned his lesson. A lot of people, they asked me, you know, guy from Wisconsin, what's it like to work on a daily basis with an abrasive New Yorker with a loudmouth? But, you know, once you get to know him, Chuck Schumer's not all that bad. And when you read the papers tomorrow, everyone's going to report this thing differently. Breitbart's going to lead with, Ryan slams the president amongst liberal elites. New York Times is going to report, Ryan defends the president in a state Hillary won. And the president will tweet, 300,000 at Al Smith dinner cheer mention of my name. My primary opponent in 2016 was endorsed by Sarah Palin. I'm really not that mad about it because Sarah and I actually have a lot in common. We both lost for vice president. We both debated Joe Biden. And given the current investigations, I too can see Russia from the House. When people ask me if I believe everything I see on Facebook, I answer, niet. Every morning, I wake up in my office and I scroll Twitter to see which tweets that I'll have to pretend that I did not see later on.
Okay, so if you heard Paul Ryan, you can clearly tell that he's throwing so many jabs at Donald Trump. You have to remember, Paul Ryan was a Trump apologist. He was a Trump defender. He's actually humiliated himself numerous times trying to defend Donald Trump. Literally, like stretching himself like a pretzel, trying to defend Donald Trump. But these jokes that he made were an expression of his true feelings about Donald Trump. He did not just all of a sudden come up with these feelings. These are feelings that he's been harboring for a long time. And he just decided to use a comical forum to express them. But he wasn't just joking like with Trump. It wasn't like there's an inside joke that he had with Trump. He was joking about Trump at Trump's expense. There's a huge difference. And it's not a coincidence that he's doing this. You have McCain who's come out, George W. Bush who's come out, you've had Corker come out, you have another Republican House member who came out, his name is Charlie Dent, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you think about what Paul Ryan is saying about Trump in these jokes, he's essentially calling him unfit, unbecoming, a moron. He said oxymoron, but a contradiction, erratic, impulsive, a New York liberal with sycophants and cowards in his cabinet. That's essentially what Paul Ryan said about Donald Trump. And I have to say, I do not think I could have said it any better than the way Paul Ryan said it, except for the New York liberal. He's a New Yorker, but he's not a liberal. I don't see anything about him that's indicative of liberalism. So that's the only part I would disagree with. But I cannot disagree with everything else that Paul Ryan was essentially saying there. And why is Paul Ryan saying this right now? Why has Paul Ryan been virtually mute on everything else that's transpired? Why now all of a sudden is he saying things about Donald Trump? I mean, the thing is, because right now there's a rebellion in the Republican Party. Right now, there are multiple Republicans who are basically threatening to basically abandon Speaker Ryan's agenda. Politico reported in an article basically saying that Republicans are frustrated, the House Republicans, Ryan's caucus basically is frustrated with Donald Trump. Here's some of what the article says. So it says, a number of Speaker's closet comrades in the House have called it quits in recent weeks because they're tired of President and that guy, right? Antics. Depressed over the GOP's dearth of legislative accomplishments this year, or have personal reasons. Rep. Pat Tiberi, a loyal ally of Ryan, is the latest departure. The Ohio Republican announced Thursday that he will resign by the end of January to take a job in the private sector. Okay, so he's out here, right? He's like, I'm gone, just like Chaffetz. Gone. Okay. And then it says, lawmakers have grown increasingly frustrated with Trump's penchant for drama and inability to focus on the legislative agenda. Numerous House GOP lawmakers and staffers said. While Trump and most Republican voters blame Congress for nothing substantial getting done, GOP lawmakers are privately exasperated that they don't have a coherent leader who can help them deliver. And then Charlie Dent, basically, who is a Republican now, who has recently announced he won't seek re-election in 2018. He said, Congress should take a lot of the blame, but so should the president. The president doesn't lay down his plans, his ideas, his policies, and he sure as hell didn't try to sell it to the American people on healthcare. And that's a function of leadership. He said, send me a bill and I'll sign it. That's not leadership. So that's Charlie Dent basically saying, we're fed up with Donald Trump. And the Republicans right now, what's basically happening with them is that they are in survival mode. They're realizing that Donald Trump is a threat to their entire platform, a threat to the Republican Party. So don't be persuaded, though, when you see that they have this tax cut agenda, because that's always been part of the Republican platform. They are indebted to their donors, and their donors want tax cuts. This has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. Even if it passes, it's not because they're trying to preserve Trump's presidency. That's not what they're trying to do. If they wanted to help him, they'd build that wall and repeal Obamacare, because that's what the base wants more than anything else. They don't want him to succeed. Him succeeding is detrimental to them. And they have a multitude of reasons for turning on Trump. First of all, they're tired of him displacing his anger for his failures on them. He made promises that he could not fulfill. They didn't make those promises. But he's blaming them for his ineptitude. Also, they're no longer under that illusion that Trump is this big deal maker. He's a failure, full stop, period. Okay? And they know he's a fraud and that he's ineffective. They thought previously that he could come in and he could just push legislation through with ease and he would be able to get these things done. They're realizing on multiple occasions they had some serious rude awakenings. Okay, there have been some serious, multiple rude awakenings. Also, they can't rely on Trump in terms of policy or legislation because, one, he's too lazy to read the legislation to even know what it is so that he can articulate it when he's asked questions. But even if he was able to read it, he's too stupid to be able to convey it in a way that people can understand how it's implementable or how it will affect people's lives. So they can't actually rely on him. They know that all he does is he just sits back and waits for them to draft the legislation that he promised, as if they work for him. They don't work for him. And then they have this Bannon situation where Donald Trump is basically allowing Bannon to primary other Republicans, senators, except for Ted Cruz. And they know that Trump is behind this, even though I think that Bannon has miscalculated this, because when you are attacking people and they have to survive, their livelihood is at stake, their life is at stake, they are going to fight back. That is what they thought, is that they could continue to beat up on Republicans. That Trump and Bannon and his whole affiliate of people could continue to beat up on Republicans, and Republicans just wouldn't fight back. That is not working out for them, for Donald Trump and them, because now Republicans are like, no, we're not going to let you get away with it. So they're not just going to let Trump just dismantle their careers. And that's what they're seeing transpire now. Now, the thing is, I'm not saying that they're going to impeach him before 2018 because they will not impeach him before 2018. That would be political suicide. They cannot sit there and focus on impeaching Donald Trump before 2018 when they know there's an election coming on. I mean, you're going to be focusing on impeachment instead of focusing on getting reelected. They'd never do that. That would be a disaster. And their base, Donald Trump's base would revolt. There'd be like a civil war if they did it before the 2018 election. So they have to worry about maintaining their jobs. But what they are going to do is make him irrelevant. You're going to continue to hear them talking about him. I've been saying it for a long time, but they're starting to come out. You're starting to hear it even more. For Speaker Ryan to be one of the people who came out and made those kind of comments publicly and didn't even care about whether or not Donald Trump would thrash him or bash him or whatever, didn't even care about how Donald Trump what the retribution would be. The fact that he was able to do that shows you that something is boiling under the surface. They'll just gradually attack him, and they'll make him a lame duck, and they'll make him irrelevant. But I can guarantee you one thing, that he's pretty much done. He has no allies or anchors left in the Republican Party. They're just basically playing the long game. When they're done, they're going to be the ones who win. Just watch. They're going to be the ones walking away and making sure that he's not successful at all. So, but that was one situation that's happened this week that I think is very important because that is the turning point, for sure. This is the turning point. When you get the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, who has been a Trump apologist, who goes out there and basically calls Trump unbecoming, unfit, a moron, all this other stuff, when you're basically doing that, when you have him doing that, then you know that the tide is basically turned. Okay, so there's something else that happened that is basically just another turning point in Donald Trump's presidency, something where he failed in leadership and it's having catastrophic consequences. So the Niger situation, if you heard about what happened in Niger, where 4 soldiers were murdered in Niger, which we didn't even know that we were in Niger in the first place. We just found out because unfortunately people were killed. But Niger is basically Trump's Benghazi. 4 soldiers were murdered under suspicious, inexplainable circumstances. And Trump made the situation far worse by making callous statements to the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. And her name is Maisha Johnson, just to let Donald Trump know, because I know that she's of no consequence to him, and neither are the fallen soldiers. So he has no conscience enough to be able to have the decency to know her name when he was talking to her. But her name is Maisha Johnson. But anyway, when Trump was talking to her on the phone, she was in the car with Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. Frederica Wilson heard him say on the phone that to her in a callous manner that he knew what he was signing up for. But I guess it hurts anyway. What the fuck does that even mean? But I guess it hurts anyway. It always hurts. You complete and total incompetent buffoon. It always is going to hurt when somebody loses somebody they love. This is somebody who has been with this guy, known this man since she was 6 years old, over 20 years. Please, could you at least, for once, pretend like you have the slightest bit of a heart that's beating? So anyway, this is what he says. And this Congresswoman relays this to the media. And then, of course, a scandal ensues. And then Donald Trump, being the predictable coward, the pathological serial liar that he is, he decides to say that Frederica Wilson was lying about what he said. So here is Donald Trump, the imposter in the White House, saying that Frederica Wilson lied about what he said. Here he is.
Didn't say what that Congresswoman said. Didn't say it at all. She knows it. And she now is not saying it. I did not say what she said. And I'd like her to make the statement again, because I did not say what she said. I had a very nice conversation with the woman, with the wife, who sounded like a lovely woman, did not say what the Congresswoman said, and most people aren't too surprised to hear that. Let her make her statement again, and then you'll find out. Okay, let her make her statement again, and then you'll find out.
Okay, as you can see here, he's such an incompetent buffoon that he didn't even remember the Maisha Johnson's name. He couldn't even say the lovely woman. But here he is saying that the Congresswoman lied. Okay, well then, after this pathological liar decides that he's going to say the Congresswoman lied, John Kelly, his chief of staff, comes out, and this is what John Kelly says Donald Trump said. Here it is.
He was doing exactly what he wanted to do when he was killed. He knew what he was getting into by joining that 1%.
All right, did you hear that, what John Kelly said? He knew what he was getting into. She said he knew what he was signing up for. Okay, semantics here. But what did she say that was a lie? Nothing that she said was a lie. John Kelly actually confirms, after Donald Trump says that she's lying, that she was lying. That actually Donald Trump did say that. This is how stupid Donald Trump is, okay? But then Donald Trump and his team, his administration, instead of just admitting that Donald Trump was wrong, John Kelly goes and decides to invoke himself in here to try to go after Frederica Wilson to defend Donald Trump. And it backfires royally because everything he said about Frederica Wilson was a blatant, patently blatant, false fabrication. Here it is. Here he is basically trying to say what he heard from Frederica Wilson, in 2015. This is what he says.
In April of 2015, I was still on active duty, and I went to the dedication of the new FBI field office in Miami. And a congresswoman stood up, and in the long tradition of empty barrels making the most noise, stood up there and all of that, and talked about how she was instrumental in getting the funding for that building, and how she took care of her constituents because she got the money, and she just called up President Obama, and on that phone call, he gave the money, the $20 million to build the building. And she sat down, and we were stunned.
Okay, you just heard that. Everything that he just said that he saw Frederica Wilson do in 2015. This is the chief of staff for Donald Trump. Nothing he said ever happened in that speech. As a matter of fact, the Sun Sentinel went and pulled up the speech and actually saw the videotape of the speech from 2015. Literally, not one word he said about her, except for the fact that she was there giving a speech at that time. Not one word that he said was actually true. Not one. She never said one word about the $30 million. She never said anything about President Obama, $20 million, or President Obama giving her money. As a matter of fact, her entire speech was an impassioned speech that she was giving, praising the FBI, praising even Republicans. She even praised John Boehner in that speech. And what he was saying that she literally was bragging about, she wasn't even in Congress at the time to even have been a part of that fundraising. This is a 4-star general, but I'll get into that later. But this is what he said transpired. So after that, because the Trump administration is so completely unhinged, instead of just saying, okay, look, this was a mistake, he lied, or he made a mistake, he actually got the facts wrong, and he's sincerely apologetic for that. Instead, they try to double down. And here is Sarah Huckabee-Sanders getting taken to the woodshed by a reporter because she is a pathological liar. I don't even know why she has a platform, whatever. What are her credentials? But anyway, here she is, lying her ass off like the rest of them.
Wilson's speech in 2015. In the speech, it doesn't appear that she referenced funding for the FBI building in South Florida. Does General Kelly still stand by the statement that he made yesterday that he felt that she was grandstanding and that she was taking credit for
Absolutely.
funding?
General Kelly said he was stunned that Representative Wilson made comments at a building dedication honoring slain FBI agents about her own actions in Congress, including lobbying former President Obama on legislation. As General Kelly pointed out, if you're able to make a sacred act like honoring American heroes all about yourself, you're an empty barrel. If you don't understand that reference, I'll put it a little more simply. As we say in the South, all hat, no cattle.
Well, in fact, have you seen the speech?
I have.
And then you know that most of it was her effusively praising these FBI agents. And when she was talking about what she did in Congress, she was not talking about securing the $20 million. She was talking about naming the building for these FBI agents, who she then went on to effusively praise. And that was the bulk of the speech.
She also mentioned that, and she also had quite a few comments that day that weren't part of that speech and weren't part of that video that were also witnessed by many people that were there. What General Kelly referenced yesterday.
Tell us specifically, because
exactly what he said. There was a lot of grandstanding. He was stunned that she had taken that opportunity to make it about herself.
Can he come out here and talk to us about this at some point?
I think he's addressed that pretty thoroughly yesterday.
No, he was wrong yesterday in talking about getting the money. The money was
if you want to go after General Kelly, that's
Congress.
up to you. But I think that if you want to get into a debate with a 4-star Marine general, I think that's something highly inappropriate.
Okay, first of all, if you want to get into a debate with a 4-star general, you can do it at any given damn time you want to. I don't know where that authority came from. As a matter of fact, he is basically under civilian control. So therefore, you can ask him any damn question you want to. And that's what Ari Melbo was saying yesterday on MSNBC. But if you notice, then do you notice that she said, the many people said? Have you heard that one before? There are always these imaginary many people saying stuff, and no one ever comes forward to substantiate it, not even one person, to substantiate whatever it is that they're saying. Trump does that too. Many people are saying. Many people, many people, many people. They're never these many people. They are literally pathological liars. And then she also makes the situation even worse because she doubles down on what Kelly said, and everybody saw the video, and they know that he lied, completely lied, like literally made up an entire story. That's not normal. To make up an entire story. He made up everything he said transpired, except for the fact that she was there. Now, I don't know where the fuck she got the authority to say that you cannot argue with a general. He is under civilian control. I need to make sure that's very clear. This is a fucking democracy. And it's going to stay a democracy no matter what Trump and a bunch of cronies decide they want to do. However, instead of her retracting her utter sheer stupidity, she releases a statement after she says this about you cannot basically challenge a 4-star general. And this is what she says. Of course, everyone can be questioned, but impugning his credibility on how to honor fallen heroes is not appropriate. Who the fuck was impugning his ability or how he tries to honor the fallen heroes? Where was that the dispute? The dispute is whether or not what Donald Trump said to this widow, Maisha Johnson, what he said to the widow, is it accurate? Is it true? John Kelly confirms that it is. Then the other issue is, did Frederica Wilson say the things that John Kelly basically said she said? No, because John Kelly lied his ass off. And yes, he did lie his ass off. It doesn't matter if he's a 4-star general. This is a guy who lied. He lied, and he made up a story. It's not even like he just embellished a little bit. He made up an entire story. Okay. So then, after saying this, okay, she tries to change the narrative and make people believe that it's about how he decided to honor the victims. They are so completely callous. They are so completely ridiculous. They are literally pathological serial liars. Okay? You need to be aware of this. This is the kind of lying that is not well. And it wasn't just these 3 people lying. It wasn't just the press secretary, the chief of staff, and the president of the United States lying. Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, the wife of Fredo Trump, a.k.a. Eric Trump, she decides she's going to invoke herself into this conversation. She decides that she's going to invoke herself into this controversy, and then she goes and lies her ass off. Here she is, about seeing transcripts of Donald Trump basically saying these things. Here she is claiming she saw transcripts. Here they are.
Criticized for the conversation that he had with the Gold Star widow. Yeah. What were your thoughts on that topic?
I think it's disgusting. I mean, I think it shows the absolute worst of politics. Here's the President of the United States calling to express his condolences on behalf of an incredibly grateful nation, and people turn it into a political item. And to me, it's disgusting.
You read the transcripts. What were your thoughts?
From what I've seen, this is just a clear case of the media not doing their job. Whenever you read exactly what he said, your husband went into battle, knowing that he could be injured, knowing that he could be killed, and he still did it because he loves this country and he did it for the American people. I can't think of a better way, quite frankly, to express my gratitude to someone than by saying something like that.
All right, so here's Laura Trump, lying Laura Trump, basically saying that she saw transcripts of what happened. She saw transcripts. This woman literally is alleging that she saw transcripts. Unfortunately for this lying woman, okay, another part of the serial lying administration of Donald Trump, Sarah-Huckabee-Sanders refutes that there were transcripts. Oh, see, this is the problem with the Trump administration. They're never prepared for receipts. Here is Sarah-Huckabee-Sanders saying there are no transcripts.
Senator Johnson, Laura Trump seemed to suggest in the interview this morning that there was a transcript of the call and that she read it. Is there a transcript, and has it been shared with members of the president's family? There's not a transcript of...
Okay. There's not a transcript. There's not a transcript. So Laura Trump goes out there, lies her ass off, basically says that there's a transcript, and there is no transcript. The thing that is so interesting about this is that how the hell did she see a non-existent transcript? Does she have psychosis? Is this schizophrenia? How did she manage to see something that wasn't there? Aren't people asking about her well-being? I mean, she's clearly equally unwell as the rest of them, and she came out and lied about it so comfortably and smoothly. All of these people are deranged, and they humiliated themselves simply trying to cover up for a callous, pathological liar. Everyone affiliated with Trump's administration is now branded a serial liar. John Kelly is a four-star general that lost all credibility trying to defend the indefensible. He risked his reputation for a man that will use you and discard you when you are no longer of value to him. Donald Trump, for some reason, has a way of ruining people, and they allow themselves to be ruined. This is a man who spent decades solidifying a dignified reputation and watched it crash and burn for a pathological liar. Also, this has nothing to do with the sad loss of his son. He is still a gold star parent. That is still affirmatively true. However, he undermined his credibility to shield a fraud. He lied, fabricated an entire story. This is a four-star general, an entire story to protect a fraud. But the thing is, both of those things can be true, that he fabricated a story to protect a fraud and that he is a gold parent. They are not gold star parent. They are not mutually exclusive. Both of those things are still true. But he clearly didn't learn from all the people that Trump has discarded. He decided to put his reputation, he gambled with his reputation, and he lost. Look at Manafort. Let Trump tell it. Who the hell is Manafort? Let Trump tell it. Was he on my campaign? Oh, you mean that guy? Man, I barely even knew him. Look how he's done Michael Flynn. You wouldn't even know that Michael Flynn had done all that stuff to help him get elected. Remember, lock her up at the Republican National Convention. Yeah, that's the guy that Donald Trump acts like he barely even knew him. Who? Man, if I saw him walking on the street, I wouldn't even know what he looked like. What does he look like? Look at what it's not just them. All these other loyal people to him. Scaramucci, Priebus, Spicer, Price. This guy has absolutely no loyalty. He's the most disloyal person. But they obviously didn't learn, and they're all stupid enough to attempt to protect Trump, and that didn't work because it actually hurt Trump. Now Republicans aren't even coming out and trying to defend this bullshit because they know that it's bullshit. And they're already pissed off, and they're going to watch him crash and burn. They're going to let the media continue to bash him and destroy him. Because now they've gotten caught in line, and now that makes it look like there's an epidemic in the White House, and they make themselves so much more vulnerable for investigations. This week was a turning point as far as I'm concerned. And I've felt for a long time that there are a lot of things that started changing things and the dynamics started to shift. But this is a turning point. When you have Republicans like Paul Ryan are willing to come out and say, this guy's a joke, and then you have him completely botching something that he should have been able to do so easily, which is basically honor the remembrance and the soldier that fought and died for this country as allegedly the commander-in-chief. He botches that, and then he lies about it all the way through and gets caught. And then he gets John Kelly, a four-star general that had respect until he did that and made up that story, gets him caught up in this. There is something brewing under the surface. This is about to become something that we've not seen this level of scandal that's about to explode. Something is happening. Today, they also said that Donald Trump is willing to pay the legal fees of his staff in the Russia investigation. Donald Trump, the most selfish human being that this world has ever seen, is now willing to pay the legal fees for his staff in the Russia investigation. And you know why he's willing to do that? Because he wants to control what they say in that investigation. And you don't want to control what people say in that investigation if you think the investigation is shit. If you think nothing happened, he says it's fake news and it's fabricated by the media, why the hell are you paying legal fees for these people? They should be able to cruise on in because there's nothing there. The truth is we have a fraud in the White House. This fraud is about to get exposed. He's unraveling all over the place. The weeks are getting worse, and it's even much worse now. So just stay tuned, guys. I'm telling you, this is going to be an interesting ride. I'm about to take a break. I'll be right back. All right, guys, thank you for staying with me, and I am back. Okay, so I said I was always going to do a How America section every single time, and this time what I want to talk about is something I've talked about before, which is the massacre in Las Vegas. You know, when you have the largest mass casualty incident with a lone wolf murderer and people just resume their daily lives like nothing happened, something's fundamentally wrong with us. We've become so desensitized by tragedy. Unless it affects us personally, we aren't feeling the loss for more than a week or so. 58 people were murdered. Over 500 people were injured. If now is not the time to talk about gun control, then when is the time? Will it have to be when we have 100 dead first before they start talking about simple measures? Will it be when one of their own is shot on a baseball field? Will it be after 20 children were murdered in a school? Will it be after a man goes into a movie theater and kills innocent people? Will it be after 2 students go in and basically blow up a school and kill themselves inside of a school and kill 13 other people? Will it be after a deranged student starts assassinating people at the Virginia Tech? Will it be after the thousands and thousands and thousands of gun deaths that we have in this country yearly? Will it ever be? There is never going to be a good time to talk about gun control. Republicans are deliberately telling you that it's not a good time, that we should respect the casualties that people have suffered. Well, the reality of the situation, now is the time to talk about it. There's never going to be a good time if you never want to talk about it. That means it's never a good time. And this isn't about the right to bear arms or infringing upon the Second Amendment. This is about the fact that human life should supersede a document, no matter how powerful that document is. This isn't saying that gun control prevents all murders. And this is what a lot of Republicans, they try to trivialize these situations and say things like, okay, yeah, well, people get stabbed. Should we ban knives? The purposes of knives aren't to kill people. The purpose of knives is to cut up food and to cut up things so that you can cook. That's basically what they are for. But even if knives were the purpose of knives were to kill people, knives aren't going to be able to cause the kind of casualties that were caused in Las Vegas, where 58 people are murdered. A person with a knife is not going to have the power to do that. So that's a stupid argument. Then they'll talk about, oh, well, what about people who use cars and drive cars into people? Should we ban cars? Cars are not made for you to be able to kill people. There are millions of people driving cars every single day, and they don't kill anyone. That's not the purpose of a car, but a gun. If you put a bullet in and you shoot it and that bullet hits something, it's going to destroy or destruct that thing. It's going to do damage to that thing. That's the purpose of it. There's a huge difference, so it's stupid to say that too. And people aren't just driving their cars into 58 and killing 58 people. You might drive your car because you've seen those people driving their cars into people, but you're not seeing someone who's driving their car into somewhere and killing 58 people that quickly. That just isn't happening, right? That just isn't happening. So what they've done is trivialize a crisis to continue to spew this propaganda for the NRA and these gun enthusiasts that just want more guns, but they're not caring about the consequences that all these guns have caused to all these lives. A super majority of the population wants gun control. That's what the polling says. That people want sensible gun legislation. Why aren't we pushing for that? If 58 people can die in this country and 500 people can get injured and nobody cares to talk about gun control, then we are a sad country. I'll be right back. All right, guys, that does it for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in to Candor Talk. And don't forget to go check SylviaExpress.com. Do not forget to check SylviaExpress.com because I will be posting the Trump regrets. Now, last week, this past week. I thought that I had posted them on Monday because I scheduled it to be posted and it didn't post. So I posted it on Wednesday. So go check sarah-huckabee-sanders.com because Trump is still hemorrhaging a lot of support, not to mention he's losing the Republicans anyway, too. So it's going to be a fun time going forward, just watching this guy implode completely. So, but anyway, check out sarah-huckabee-sanders.com. Also, we are now on iHeartRadio as well. Our show is on iHeartRadio. So if you get a chance, go to iHeartRadio and look up Candor Talk. And you will be able to see our show there. So we're actually pretty happy and excited about that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. And hopefully this week I will post some more shows. But in the meantime, you guys have a great week. Talk to you later. And thank you for listening again. Have a good one.